Already, like this already works. I'm going through each exotic, rating it on PvE, PvP, and Gambit, including some other information that I want to put in. And then let's get into it. We're going to be picking Sturm. We're going to be using Drang with this. I'm just going to put that as an FYI. And then we're going to put on some Lucky Pants because it's just going to increase the damage a little bit. And it just works with it, honestly. Just use it. Just slap on whatever modifications you want to put on it. Uh, it already has the reloading capacity. You can make any hand cannon increases or buffs or anything to it, and obviously you charge with flight with that to get some extra damage off with it. Now, like I said, we are going to be using Drang with this. It is unfair to really separate them since they both pair really together, and that's how the developers made it to all pair together and it to all work together. So we're going to be including that in the rating. I will include any other ratings, like if I don't think that Drang worked that well, or Stern would work worse in that section, then I'll let you know. Now we're going to be running 3 PvP matches, 3 PvE matches, and 3 Gambit matches. I will include any comments like Grandmaster Nightfalls, raids, anything like that, trials. I'll put that in there in the video. But right now, I'm just specking out the Solar subclass, and I want you to take a look at it. I went more of a cowboy build with this, and I just think it fit the scheme, made the outfit a little bit better. I just wanted to put an extra touch onto it. Now, starting out with the ratings, I'm going to be starting with the Haunted Lost sectors. I'm just going to include any events or any activities that are new or in the time of me running it, just so if you want to run something a little bit different in that time, I'll give you a fair rating, and then I'll let you decide whether or not you want to be running it in these activities. Now, with that being said, I'm going to be giving Drang included with Sturm. I'm going to be giving it a 7, and with just Sturm by itself in the Haunted Lost sectors, I'm going to be giving it a 6. Now, the reason why I'm giving it such a high rating with Drang is just because Drang is a good sidearm. It's done really well. Time to kill is pretty easy. Recoil isn't bad. You can run full auto trigger on it, and it just honestly shreds through a lot of targets without any difficulty. A lot of these enemies would be red bars, and it's just not that difficult. Now, for the star of the show, obviously Sturm is going to get a buff for every time you get a kill with Drang. So in a lot of these clips here, I'm going to be using Drang for most of the part, and that's fine, but this is going to make me increase my damage, give me more of an ammo capacity, just so I can get better DPS out. Now, why I'm giving it such a high rating in general, from a 6 to a 7 range, is because Sturm honestly has a very high damage output when paired with Lucky Pants. It already has a high damage output, but with Lucky Pants, it's going to increase it to around 22,000 damage, if I'm correctly in my testing, and just honestly shreds pretty hard through any type of enemies, even boss level enemies. Now, even though this is more of a meme weapon, I found myself enjoying it more than honestly the meta weapon running. I was running a linear in some of this, so I will be using it in some clips, but honestly, just wasn't having a bad time with it overall, and just was nice. And then that's going to lead me to the next section, which is going to be PvE. I'm going to split this up into casual and more comp play. I did not end up running it in comp play at all, but I'm just going to give my overall opinion, which I think it would work in it. Now, for the PvE casual concept, I'm going to be giving it an 8 with Drang, and with just Stern by itself, I'm going to be giving it a 7. Now, my reasoning for putting the PvE aspect for casual above the Haunted Lost sector is just strictly because you can use Drang and Sturm together a lot more, and it seems a lot more effective together in PvE casual than just strictly using a lot of Drang that I seem to be doing in the Haunted Lost sector because of how underleveled and how low these pretty much enemies are. But with just this high rating, it's just strictly, it works together really well. It's really fun to run. It's not really a meta build, but there's a lot of times where I'm going against boss enemies and yellow bars and just kind of shredding through them with Drang and Sturm both together. I strictly remember having at one point around like 85 1090 ammo with Sturm, and it was just really fun to just run both of them together. It's not really fair to kind of include Drang with a lot of this because a lot of the time I'm using Drang, but with the moments with Sturm, it just hits like a truck and just kind of shreds through any enemies without having to do pretty much any difficulty. Now, with the more hard PvE modes, I'd probably be giving this a rating of a 4 to a 5, depending upon if you're running Drang with it or Sturm. This is because it's not really a meta weapon to be running in a hardcore kind of a gameplay aspect. A lot of the reasoning behind this is just because there isn't any artifacts to put onto your armor to really stun any champions with Drang and Sturm. You could be running a different weapon, which is why I'm putting without Drang a little bit higher, but just simply, I would just probably stick to just running the meta. There isn't really a use to be running this. This is more of like a fun kind of like unique build that really does shred pretty easily in casual, but I wouldn't be running this in any Grandmaster Nightfalls or any raids in that aspect. Now, this is going to lead us to PvP casual, and then for PvP casual, I'm going to be giving it a rating of a 5, just straight up, with Drang or Sturm. Now, I just have a quite simple list of reasons why this is getting such an average score. I could bring the score down a little bit, but I feel like it's being too harsh on it. But it's just strictly because it's getting out time to killed by 140s. The range is a little bit better on top of those 140s, but it really doesn't matter because if you're both hitting each other with the same amount of shots, you're going to be losing the battle no matter what. It's a little nice to have some extra ammo in the mag from Drang because Drang itself isn't bad at all. It's honestly really, really nice, and sidearms in general are pretty nice for hitting that 51 headshot. But the only time I'm really seeing myself two-tapping is when I can get those pretty much kills lined up, and I get a kill off a guy and I get the extra damage from Lucky Pants, and then I can two-tap the next guy, or if I have charge with light. It's really just kind of like a niche kind of a time where you can two-tap, and I just didn't find myself using it more. This could just be user error. I could just be not a fucking good. I'm not a guy over here. But just overall, it's just kind of average. Now, you might be wondering why I'm still putting it at a 5, is Drang is so good in this, and that's just strictly because it's a sidearm. A lot of the time, Stern should be your major long range to like mid to like almost long range battles, but most of the time you're using Drang really, really up close, and Stern doesn't really get that time to shine, and when it does get that time to shine, it's just very, very hard to get the really kills off for me. It could just be that obviously I'm not good with hand cannons, but I'm not bad with hand cannons. I did test this a little bit with controller as well because I do usually play controller, and I kind of still have the same issue where most of the time I was getting killed faster by scouts, by pulses, by honestly other hand cannons as well, and it just wasn't really fun to be running Sturm. Now, that being said, for the comp aspect, I would probably put this at a 5 as well, just because of the fact you are going to be on a 3v3 kind of an aspect, and I can see that your teammates are actually able to pick off after you get like 1 or 2 headshots, able to pick it off with you, but it's still kind of like an iffy moment where if it's on a long range map and you're going against pulses, snipers, scout rifles, honestly anything longer range that's going to outrange you, I probably wouldn't be running this at all. Now, this is going to lead me to this last little section, and that's going to be Gambit. And then for Gambit, I'm going to be giving it an 8, just strictly because whenever I played it in Gambit, it shreds. There is a kind of a bad thing with Gambit that a lot of weapons that you run, like auto rifles, scouts, a lot of things, since it's Gambit, there's the damage reduction on it, and it kind of matches the way that Gambit does, because everybody knows how to everybody knows how that shit works. But with Drang and Sturm, it kind of just seemed like there wasn't really any barrier, and you were honestly just having a lot of fun with it. The only problem is, once again, when it comes to invasions, it's not really good, but it's just kind of like a, you know, whatever, who really gives a fuck about it. Now, this is going to lead me to the more fun aspect that I put towards the end of the ratings, and I'm going to be giving it a 6. The reason why I'm giving it a 6 is just It's really fun to use. It's nice to have both Drang and Sturm. I find myself using Drang more than Sturm though. That's the only problem I have with it. This is going off of both of them though. If I had to put Sturm at just itself, I'd probably put it at a 5. But 6 is honestly, I couldn't go any higher, couldn't go any lower. It's fun to use. It has its perks, it has its pluses, it has its weaknesses. But honestly, just running the solar subclass together with just the increase of feeling like a fucking cowboy every time you use Drang, Sturm together with your golden super, it just was fun. Now, finally, this leads me to tallying up everything and then just giving an overall rating of everything. I am going to not include Haunted Lost Sectors or any events or anything that's done, just as my amusement, just because that's going to increase the score, and it's just not fair to everything else. If I play this during fucking Solstice, I just played it because I want to play it. And then overall, without Drang, it's going to be a 5.5. And then with Drang, it's going to be a 6. Just this is the average. It's just fucking basic math. It's very close. I kind of suspected that it was gonna be a little bit farther apart. Like I thought it was gonna be like a solid like 1 apart. But honestly, just not bad. It got overall better than Sweet Business than last time. And I could see a lot of people running it and having a lot more fun with it. And just hits honestly like a truck. So if you would like to run it, obviously run it. This could be your cup of tea, could not be your cup of tea. I don't really care. Now, hopefully, I'm going to release the next video out soon. I'm not going to take as much as a break like I did last time. I apologize. But other than that, that should be it.